And we're live. All right. So I noticed that no one I knew was online live tonight. So I figured, what the heck? Let's just kind of touch base with everybody and talk about a couple of things. Whoa, let me try to get that shadow off of my face. Yes, I'm kind of bundled up tonight because it's going to be cold here. And what Pastor and I have been doing springtime kind of chores. He was driving his tractor around today, moving dirt, and what was I doing? Oh, I was pruning some of the grapevines. And I had to, watch a couple of YouTube videos. What is that shadow? A couple of YouTube videos. Hey, sheepdog patriot, shalom, shalom, shalom. Had to watch a couple of videos on how to actually prune a grapevine that was older, not brand new, older. And then where they're growing into the trees, I'm also trimming the tree limbs back. So if the grapevine climbs up the tree, all the leaves and the things from the grapevine, from the tree won't make the grapevine get too wet. So, and then that was supposed to be what I was holding up to the camera. I hate the picture that they want to take. But these are some seeds I plan on planting soon. And I've already gotten some peas in the ground and some kale. And I've got a little bin deal with some potting soil where I'm supposed to be making a little baby green, mini greenhouse there. So that's in the workings. And we've had some disappointments. I moved the ducks down to the orchard, and the whole plan there was so they could, get wet and splash their manure around and feed the trees down there, fruit trees. And the very first day, they ducked under the fence and came all the way back up to the house. So that's a whole rigmarole I've got to deal with there to make sure the fence is secure. And I also noticed I had brought a nest down for them, and the one hen had already laid like 4 eggs in that nest. And something went in there last night and ate them. So maybe the ducks know something about being down there that I don't. Maybe I need to do a little trapping or something before I keep them there permanently, because I don't want a raccoon preying on them or anything like that. So let me see who's here. I'm just kind of Sheepdog Patriot and Stephen Wilson. Yaw's Peace, Sister Kate. Thank you, Stephen. Yaw's Peace to you. Oh, West Hold Forge. Hey, I had a question for you. Oh, I think it was about guineas. Did you say something about guineas? Was I talking about guineas around you? I haven't seen you like face to face in a long time. Maybe it wasn't you. I like your blacksmithing videos. Pretty cool. Like your 2 little lab dogs. That's pretty cool. Oh, you hate guinea fowl. Okay. It probably wasn't you then. It was probably somebody else. Man, I can't think. Went to TSC recently. Had to, I had to pick up a couple of things there, and I cannot walk in there this time of year without buying things like trees and seeds and twigs and so on. So I got another fig. Actually, I can show it to you just because. Whoa, man. There we go. Yeah, it's not that impressive, but what caught my eye, I think I bought it at Lowe's, was this is a different variety fig than what they normally sell in our area. The one that they normally sell is turkey brown or brown turkey, which we know some people who didn't have a very good luck with that kind of fig in our area. But even the brown turkey one that we planted this past year in the Shimata grew. They're good to have, but so much noise. Hey, shalom, Brother Alex. We got the news on your daughter today. Praise Yah. We were praying all, very hard for her. So glad to hear that. Anyway, this particular fig is get these glasses. It's white Marseille fig. Never heard of it before, But it says right here on the back that it's good down to like minus 20 degrees. It's got a cold hardiness factor that's good. And with figs, you know, you want something that's a little bit more cold hardy because they normally grow in very warm temperatures. So that was pretty cool, and I plan on planting that. Oh, awesome. So glad to hear that she's playing. Hey, Spaz Mama, shalom. So I bought those, and I bought some iris. I guess I can get them too. This is all just kind of filling in until a few more folks come up, and then I'll get down to really serious stuff. But bought some asparagus. I think like three sprigs or something, and this particular one, it takes 3 years before you eat it. But we've been saying we want to get these forever, and you know, no time like the present. And I love asparagus. And then I'm also just a fool for the bulbs. So this is a 40 pack of the Dutch iris, and what I love about them are the colors. It's white, yellow, and purple. And on a color wheel, you know, they complement each other, the purple and the yellow. And regular irises are pretty, but these guys, there's just something about them. And I've already planted some around here, but I go and I see all this stuff, and it's like my fingers get itchy. I can't help but get more stuff. So how about you guys? Have you guys been starting your springtimey kind of trying to get stuff in the ground thing? Hello from Dave in Denver, one of the Colorado Vikings.
Kelly.
He said his name's Dave.
Yeah, no, but that's Kelly's group.
Oh, cool. Well, shalom, Dave. Okay. Amy bought a bunch of seeds today, so I'm not the only one feeling it. Exactly, like a kid in a candy store. And Pastor broke out, you know, what seeds we had from 2 years ago since we didn't plant last year. I have no idea how viable those things are going to be. My itchy fingers ordered $42 from Baker Creek. Exactly. Sugar Creek Homestead of Tennessee. Hello, shalom. We're talking about our springtime itchy finger, gotta get in the dirt, gotta get dirty stuff. Peas, radishes, and lettuce. And aren't radishes awesome? I mean, I won't say I love radishes. I don't really care for them normally, but you can actually slice them and put them in a stir fry, and they're pretty tasty. And they grow in 30 days. In 30 days, you have, you know, a plant you can eat. I'm very much into things that are useful. All right, so itching to plant, right? Little salt or ranch. I mean, my daughter loves them raw. She just loves them raw. Just pops them in like candy. I guess it's a thing. Some other things to expect in the springtime are your, at least for us, livestock kidding and lambing, and not so much calving. I think calving is something some people do in the spring, but some farmers or ranchers have started having their cows calve in the fall because they're going to go through those colder temperatures, but there's not as much bugs, and I guess maybe that's easier for them to survive. All right, let me see what you've said. Bake them with a little olive oil, salt, and pepper. Must eat them hot. Putting in 12 to 16 beds, 4 by 12 each. Wow, that's going to be a huge garden, Alex, and I know from knowing you for a while that you guys are going to get it in there and you're going to actually plant in it. So that's great. How is your nanny goat? Your goat's looking pregnant there, Alex? Because I know ours are. My one nanny looks like round. She's just, you know, I think Sister Kitty said yesterday her belly was rubbing the ground, dragging the ground when she was walking. You should be pruning if you have fruit trees, if you have, let me think, crepe myrtle or hydrangeas. Well, I'm not so sure hydrangeas, but your roses you should have already pruned back. Couple of weeks at most. So yeah, you're gonna have kids. Hey, EE, we got 4 inches of snow today. congrats. You do live in the Adirondacks, brother. At least it's not feet, right? We had a little snow or some freeze, and tonight's going to be really cold around here. Anyway, if you have grapevines, if you have like blackberry canes, you would have wanted to. Okay. So the old canes and stuff aren't still in there and are going to catch you when you go in there and try to pick berries and stuff. And all your fruit trees. If you have fruit trees, if you have apples and pears and plums and cherries and things, now is the time to prune those trees. And Sister Kitty was telling me you actually want them to be more of a this kind of shape versus this kind of shape. I thought you wanted your apple trees like this. But she said it's actually better like this. So you don't have to be reaching up at the top, and you've got way more fruit and bushiness near the bottom of the tree. And yeah, if you go to the Back to Eden video on YouTube, what's his name? Paul something. Paul, I don't remember. Anyway, he cuts his trees way back, and then they bear a lot of fruit. Pardon?
Paul Gauchi.
Gauchi, that's right. That's his last name. He just prunes the heck out of them. Barely leaves anything there, but they put on a lot of growth and they make really big fruit. So, you know, I'm out there cutting my my trees with Brother Cody, and he keeps looking at me like, do we keep cutting? And I'm like, yes, I think so. I don't know. I don't want to kill him. Okay, so enough of the pleasantries about that. Let's get down to the brass tacks, because I know I've done, 5-6 videos on the coronavirus, and now YouTube has said they will demonetize any video that has coronavirus in the title. Whatever. I mean, I don't do the videos on corona of fig trees and muscadines. Buzz has. Awesome. Have you heard of this white Marseille fig? The one that I just bought, because it looks like it's supposed to be kind of cold hardy. That's right. Lone Star Living, shalom. Yeah. How many of you guys watched the video on the maple syrup? E. Healy, thanks for bringing that up. That was another something that just kind of came together. We were talking to Kitty about the maple trees, and I forget if she wanted to go see them or we wanted to show them to her, and she brought up the tapping, and it all kind of rolled up. Spaz Mama, there you go. It just all kind of rolled up. Like, we mentioned it, and then she said tapping, and we're like, yeah, we had a tree somewhere, and we actually tapped it, and this, and she did sap when she was younger, and so on. And you saw the result. Well, this afternoon, Pastor Joe and I tasted it for the first time. She had it and boiled it down and made it till like Sunday. Just boil it down. Yeah, that's all she did. But it was a lot of boiling. I think it was 12, what did she say, 12 hours, 14 hours of boiling or something. And she used just sort of a regular stock pot on a turkey fryer. And she did it outdoors. And there's many other ways to process that sap. So we're still working at it. I'm excited to see how it did. Okay. I wonder if I have the jar. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go see if I have that jar. I think I put it in the fridge. Oh, yep, it is. Okay. All right. All right, so Pastor Joe and I went up there today, and we had a meal this afternoon about 2:30. Was Kitty's idea. Let's have pancakes. So we went up there. She cooked the pancakes and some eggs. I cooked some French toast and bacon. And I got a little bit of the leftover, because our deal is they do a bunch of the tapping and all that stuff. And then it's kind of 50-50. So she had a whole quart, and then she said she had strained it so it was more, kind of here on the quart. And then we use about that much during the meal, and so we split what was left. So it's good. It's really tasty. She said it's delicious. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, it's kind of hard in this light to see it. It looks darker on my side with the light coming through it. It looks about iced tea colored, and it smells. It smells of a hint of maple, but it's not as strong as the commercial stuff. Friends up north, they get a lot of the syrup. Yeah, we got 14 gallons from like 5, 6 trees in just 2 days. So there's some potential there. Anyway, oh my gosh, it's really sweet. But this tastes almost more like caramel than maple because this is the early season stuff. The later season stuff, and it's kind of got a buttery flavor too. The later season stuff is the stuff that's darker. As the season wears on, you get darker sap out of it. And they called this grade A delicate because it is a lighter brown, but man, is it sweet. And Sister Kitty said that's because, or we thought it was probably because these trees are older. They're not, baby trees. So they probably have, I don't know how the maple tree thing is, but it's kind of concentrated. And like I said in the video, that tree, one of the trees that we tapped, a woodpecker had done a line of holes, and I thought it might be a yellow-bellied sapsucker. I mean, isn't that what the bird's name means? Maple syrup is big in upstate New York and Vermont. Exactly. See, we're kind of down south. And so sorghum is huge around here. And sorghum's delicious. And, people get the sorghum presses and all that stuff. And honey. There's local honey sold everywhere. But I don't know how many people make maple. Sweet stuff after the bloom goes up will be an amazing good trade. That's exactly what we thought, West Hold Forge. And we also thought the land has produced so much in that Shimatah year. And, I did videos about it, and we always get blackberries and grapes. But then after that last video I did on walnuts, and we found the walnuts and we cracked them and we got the cracker and they tasted pretty good. To me, they don't taste like the ones you buy in the store, but I haven't had store-bought walnuts in a long time because I didn't like the flavor. I didn't buy them. And I was like, wow, y'all, thank you so much. You've revealed yourself over the whole course of the summer with things you've given us. Surely, by December, we're finished. And then this comes around. So now we've kind of done the whole year with all the blessings that the Father gives us. And this maple syrup is early spring. And we've already got the curly dock leaves growing up. So we've got greens. And we'll just start right into the, everything else come up. So it was really cool. We're looking at ways to process it that don't take forever, that don't cost as much. And then, with the hopes that maybe someday we'll be able to actually sell it. But if things have to shut down or whatever, to me, it's just a nice source of something sweet that we don't have to stress about because bees are hard to do. And, we don't want to grow sugar beets because we've heard, that it's too much effort for the return that you get. And so, sorghum, you have to have pretty good soil to grow sorghum, and we have rocks. So this is a God thing where he said, okay, well then just make syrup. Hey, Electric Soldier, shalom. Let me see what EE said. Hi. Good y'all have maple trees. Yeah, we were pretty excited about that. Okay. We cannot get sorghum up here. Yes, I think sorghum is kind of a local thing. Hey, shalom, Storm Chaser, Okie Storm Chaser. We were just talking about springtime stuff and gardening stuff. We're going to be seeing you soon, by the way. Hey, Sergeant Jane, shalom. So yeah, I got some of the trees pruned, and then I wanted to talk to you all about coronavirus. And YouTube sent out an official email or something that said, we're not going to monetize them. Well, that's fine. The reason I do my coronavirus videos is not to get money from them or not. It has really nothing to do with it. It's more the information about that virus that I think is really important. to, preppers in general, communities in general. I really like your tile magnets that you created. Let it snow. Okay, so let me ask you that you created. Let it snow. I want to ask you a question. Are you talking about the ones that are on the Etsy store, or are you talking about the ones that I put on Instagram where I've got my coffee cup and then I painted the tiles to match it? And I am going to talk about the Etsy store later. But, hey, Gary, shalom. There were a couple of points that I thought were really important coming up about the coronavirus. Yes, the video and the Etsy. Okay, so the video and the Etsy is about the magnets that are printed from my hand-painted canvases. I do these little canvases. I don't know why I chose little. I just came from True News. Is that what it says from True News? Dr. John Campbell has some good info on the virus. Yeah, and Dr. John Campbell is getting his information from medical source websites. Like doctors are reporting this on their medical thing, and because he's a doctor, he's getting it off of there. And one of the things he said in a recent video is they think the virus, how do you say it, aerosolization, that the virus, instead of just merely being spread by droplets, because droplets is, you're next to somebody and they cough or they sneeze, and their cells are shedding the virus, and if it lands on you and then you put it in your eyes or whatever, that's how it's spreading. Aerosolization is where that person sneezes or coughs into the air, and the virus gets into the air, and then the virus can be blown around or sucked into the vents or whatever, and wherever it lands, then you can touch that and you can get it. Same thing. That's why they're saying wash your hands, wash your hands. Say you're in a store and somebody up front who's showing no symptoms is coughing all around where you check out, and they haven't touched you, you're not close enough to them, but they leave, and then you walk up there and you touch the cart that they had, or somewhere on the countertop, or maybe he picked up a lighter and they put it back down. If you touch it, you're going to get the virus that way. Renee Stump Shalom. So the reason that's so important is it's that much more easy to spread. Where you've already got that R0 factor and they're expecting one person to infect, 2.5 to 3 people. With aerosolization, one person standing in a sort of enclosed space like a elevator or on a subway car, coughing and sneezing can infect the whole car. Yeah, so that's a really important difference between droplet spread, because that means it has the potential to spread that much faster, and would explain why China goes from 1 case 2 months later, 60,000 cases, right? So I think that's a really important point, and I think it should start to influence you in the way you prep and the way you think about how this thing's going to play out. All right, let me go. I've been cleaning everything at work. I have been through a ton of Clorox wipes, right? I mean, the last time I went shopping at China Mart, they had a whole end display of Clorox wipes. I mean, commercially, people are figuring out, let's start producing gloves, masks, let's produce wipes, disinfectants. But you have to think now, okay? If there's a case in Texas from someone who was quarantined from Wuhan. There's cases in California. I mean, I think they said now there's 25 cases. Shalom, am I prepper in the United States? And someone on here said, there's definitely a case at a hospital within a half hour of me. That's not a problem if it's droplet spread. It becomes much more important if that's aerosol spread, and that's what the word coming down is. Now, the Singaporean doctors gave out their report, and they said, Shalom, USMC Connie, oh hey. The Singaporeans said the incubation period could be up to 24 days long. And there are people called super spreaders who have no symptoms and are shedding the virus wherever they go. And they're affecting a lot of people. So if there's a case within 30 miles of you, you want to start doing the things where you're not going out and, washing your hands. We already said that, but even wearing gloves in public, they say it's not that big a deal to wear a mask if you don't have the virus, but with aerosolization now it becomes a little bit more important. It becomes more important to, not actually venture outside and to start thinking about, am I going to duct tape my windows and doors? Like if it's in your own town, you're not going to want to go into town at all. You're not going to want to go to the library or get gasoline or buy groceries or anything like that. Shalom, shalom. Deborah, done all I can do, just watching it now, says Am I Prepper? Exactly. Keep watching. Keep paying attention. And then the second point I wanted to talk about it tonight was the World Health Organization is officially 577 people are under supervision, still only one diagnosed in Washington. I think they said there's 600 or 800 Americans who came back from Wuhan that are quarantined in, 10 different military bases around the country. And the one case in Texas that happened today is one of those quarantined people. And those quarantined people are going to be there 14 days. But now what the medical people down there are going to have to do is they're going to have to isolate that person from all the other people. And they've got to make sure that that person doesn't contaminate the air or them. I mean, being a caretaker with this virus is really risky. That's why you see the people, head to toe covered up, because the chances that they infect you are higher than if it's some random stranger. So anyway, the second point was the World Health Organization is doing a summit. They're doing a conference with doctors from all these different countries to talk about this virus because there's so many unknowns. They still don't know why it suddenly goes into pneumonia about a week into having it for some people. What is the virus doing where it's acting like a flu up until then, and then suddenly people are developing pneumonia? They don't know how that is. Right, a real and physical case for coming out of it. I'm pretty sure the article I read said they're not exactly sure the best course of treatment for people who have it. Oh, PJ, stop coughing, Bubba's saying. We're talking about the corona and stuff, they're hacking away. It's because we were outside doing physical labor and it's really cold out. You can hear it in my voice too, or, your bronchial gets a little irritated with the cold air. But the World Health Organization, there is no unified course of treatment. Like, they haven't said for sure, give it Tamiflu and then, an antibiotic on day 10, and, respiratory treatment on day 12. They're all doing the best they can. All these doctors and nurses and everything are treating symptoms as they see them, but they don't even have a cure figured out, really. Just going to keep dehydrating vegetables and fruits until the cows come up. Until no longer safe to go to the grocery store, we'll pull back from the gym and doctor's office when needed and bug in. Hey, Gary, shalom. A couple of Marine units were put on notice in California. Okay. What kind of notice, Gary? Now, the death toll is what, 1,300 or something? So it's still a very small percentage when you look at 60,000 cases. And then somebody else said, of those infected, you can't just get a direct correlation to how many are dying. It's better to look at those who have the serious cases, which is, I think the last time I looked was about 6,000. And how many people had actually died. So, 6,500 or whatever serious cases, 1,300 have died. So now you've got like about 25% versus 60,000 people are sick, 1,300 people died. That makes it seem like it's, a much, much smaller number of fatalities. But if you look at 6,500 and 1,300, now you're talking about a quarter of those seriously infected die. So that was an interesting way to look at those numbers, I thought. So the World Health Organization is going to talk about how to treat it. I'm sure they're going to talk about, as far as, because I forget how many countries it's actually in now, 20 something, how they're going to coordinate all that, how they're going to deal with countries like third world countries, where if it shows up there and they've got this rudimentary medical system, what is the world, right, health organization reaction to say, and I'm not saying this is who it would be, but just take Laos. Let's pretend it shows up in Laos. It's in Vietnam. They're still a third world country. What are the ramifications going to be of, that spreading all over Laos, and how many people will survive it, and how would you treat it, kind of thing. So they're going to be looking at that. They're going to be looking at research. They're going to be looking at trying to make a vaccine. They said it could be up to 18 months to do a vaccine for it, which means that's 18 months of people catching it and them trying to figure out what's going on and quarantining. I mean, now there's 2 more cities. What is it? Guangzhou, I think, is quarantined, and Huangdang just said no one can go out to eat. You get home from work, you're going to stay home. No restaurants open. So this makes it a much higher possibility. The fact that it's aerosolization, airborne, makes it a much higher possibility that there will be a whole lot more people sick than if it were just droplet spread. And I think that's significant. I think that should change everyone's perspective on how far out it has to be before you decide to bug in, what places you go, and who you go to those places with. So what do you guys say? What have you read? What have you seen on the news? I'm not saying China made it, but if a superbug is going to come from anywhere, it's going to come from China. Well, and there are doctors saying that it looks like it has been man-made, that different things have been put together. I think Dr. Campbell said he thought maybe they were researching, how did he put it? It's been too many days since I watched his video. The spreadability or something, maybe they were researching it. And then there was another doctor who said, somebody told me he wasn't a doctor either, that the genome looked like it, had a part of it had the AIDS virus in it. So PJ should try throat coat tea. Shalom, Sister Kate, Sun Dancer. Shalom. Had some nurses tell me not to give my daughter Tamiflu. Said the side effects would be worse than the flu symptoms. No idea if there's is the truth, but I didn't give her, and hang on, I didn't give her any. So it's interesting that they told you that, because Janelle took Tamiflu day 1 or 2, and she was diagnosed with influenza, and she took it day 1 or 2, and it cleared it right up. So, Alex, I really don't know, what's the right thing, because nurses are there every day seeing stuff. So they may know something. Love throat coat tea. Shalom. Shalom from North Texas. Hey, Colleen. Hey, Cassie. Just look, 65,000 sick with 15,000 dead? Are you sure, E.E. Healy, or is it 1,500? Confirmed case in Texas. Yeah, we knew that. Tamiflu is a nasty drug. I'd rather support with nutrition, hydration, and supplements. Oh, Marine units put on, what did you say? Put on alert to control large population area.
No, that's not true.
No, not true.
Crap.
Pastor saying no. No, that's crap. Sorry. Being a heart patient, I'm already bugging in as much as possible. Absolutely, Cassie. That's smart. Because there's a lot of influenza in our area too, both A and B. Very significant, massive. You have to go out and staying home as much as possible. We dress the same inside, Sister Kate. It is winter after all. We sleep in a lot of clothes too. Country Frau, it's no joke. I mean, it's going to be way less than freezing here tonight. And we've got the big stove going. It had a couple logs in it. Last night it cranked out pretty good heat. But when we got up this morning, it was 50 degrees in the cottage because there's still insulating kind of things we can do and finishing things we could do to keep the heat in more. But yeah, I've got huge socks on right now too. Shalom, Sister Kate. Shalom, Teresa. Oh, shalom, Mark. Virologist Dr. Stephen Hatfield said it took several years to get reliable number on SARS, and maybe years before we know how many were cremated without being reported. Exactly, and how many died in their home and nobody, knows that anything happened. Strong immune systems, no sugar, no dairy, lots of vitamin D, vitamin C, and elderberry. Well, okay, but we're eating a lot of sugar because we're stressed. Add at least a 0 to the end of the numbers out of China. Have a resource checking news from Taiwan that sensors can't reach. Many first-hand reports talked about in the news come from China. And our government just said, put out an official statement that said something like, we are not, 100% confident in those numbers. And China is still refusing our help. So what are they hiding? What's going on there? It should OTC soon. What's OTC? Tamiflu can work great, just lots of side effects in the younger population. Okay, good to know, Renee. Are you a nurse, Renee? If we were going to deploy Marines that way, we wouldn't know it until it happened. Typo, it was 1,500. So 1,500 dead out of 65,000 is not that big a number. I mean, I don't have a calculator right here, but it's a small percentage. But how many people do they have there who are considered very ill? Because from the very ill down to dead is a totally different number. It's like 25% of the very ill people die. I admit it, the older I get, the less I enjoy being cold. I don't mind being cold during the day. And today, to deal with the cold, I had on a long skirt, a long petticoat, and leggings underneath. And then up top, I had like 5 layers on, and I didn't even have a big overcoat. The 5 layers kept me warm enough. And I had a hat and then a little like neck scarfy thing, and it worked. But I don't like being cold at night. Like, I don't like coming in and the floor's freezing, so I've got socks on and shoes. Totally agree on the sugar and dairy. It's better without it, but stress is craving it. Such a hard choice. I did cut down on the dairy while we had the flu, because I've had a couple of sinus infections, and it usually comes after having a lot of milk, and so I tried to cut down on it because I didn't want a secondary infection coming on. Over the counter, OTC, okay. We just gave our daughter Tylenol and Motrin for symptoms she's doing. Over the counter, okay. Not a nurse, herbalist with lots of kids. Okay, Renee. Just didn't want to dish you. Shalom, Sasquatch. Do you believe the officials' dead numbers? Housewife in the Woods, I really don't. And I'm not trying to fault the Chinese. I'm not trying to say, oh, they're deliberately hiding it. I think it's just harder to have accurate numbers the more people that are involved. And I think the numbers that I was looking at today said 65,000 people have it, but like 3,500 are confirmed something, like tested, confirmed, or something. So just, try to fathom in your mind, 65,000 people is like one of those, what do you call it, 2A, 1A college stadiums full of people. That's a lot of sick people. That's a lot of medicine. That's a lot of beds if they go to hospital. To have someone taking care of them, you need at least 3 other people. You need like a doctor and 2 nurses to be checking on those patients. I mean, so then you go from 60,000 with times 3, that'd be 180,000 people to just take care of the 60,000 sick. I mean, I don't think they can be accurate. And somebody else made a point that there could be people in their apartments who die from this, and if they're single and no one is checking in on them, they could be dead and not getting into the official count also. Or some of their, little outlying rustic whatever clinics could have sick people going on and they haven't even reported them in yet. Yeah. Shalom, sister. Shalom, Amy Patterson. Logistically a nightmare, right? It is. Shalom, Dave Patterson. Shalom. Don't forget the potassium, magnesium, iodine, and other nutrients lacking in our soil. Our food grows in today. All those that are sick at home, they aren't in the numbers. Exactly. Shalom. Shalom. And, I'm very, very wary to say, try to predict. I just think keep watching. But it really looks like it could become very serious, especially with the latest thing about the aerosolization. And then you have the fires in Australia, which I don't know what's going on there. I don't even know if the news reports that anymore. But the locust plague thing over there in Africa is worse. I think the last thing Pastor looked at about that said it's way worse than they thought it was going to be. And this is the time of year when they're trying to get in their crops. Hey, shalom, following Yeshua. Were you able to tap your trees yet? Do you know where they are, and did you get your taps yet? It's more likely. What should be looking for as far as when it's time to pull our families home? My husband still works off the homestead. Housewife in the woods. Because they think it's airborne, I think you want to pull your people out sooner than what we were saying about, like, you hear it's in your county. If it's in your state, you want to really keep your eye on it. If it's near your county, you may want to start doing that stuff now, because if it's airborne, it can be passed so quickly. Oh, look at this. Blackberry got me while I was out pruning the grapes. I found the trees, but the taps haven't arrived yet. Looking forward to it, though. Thank you for the video. You're welcome, brother. I'm telling you, that's how the Father works. And, Sister Kitty told me that when she was younger and she wanted to try doing the tree tapping, her mother would not pay for the taps, and so she made one out of an elderberry bush. They're about 1.5 inches long. It has to be hollow, and one end is kind of sharp that you put in there. And I thought, wow, that's enterprising. But it's good to know because, let's say the taps aren't available. The Chinese company or whatever that makes them, now everyone's got the virus and no one can make them. We know that we can make them ourselves. We can hollow out wood, or we can use like narrow PVC pipe or even a straw or something, and go ahead and tap trees. It's just a really good thing to know. Heard on WSB in Atlanta twice today, watching 200 in Georgia alone. Is that because of the CDC is in Atlanta? Hope they misquoted. It could also be that there are 200 people who were brought back from Wuhan and are being quarantined on a military base, because Georgia has a lot of military bases there. It could be that. Don't have enough staff to keep hospital clean either. Janitors, hospital laundry, etc. We're in northern Minnesota, remote northern country, thank goodness. Well, yeah, that'll make things easier for you. Florida is a pool of the world that comes here. We have the race this weekend, lots of people. Right, Renee? I mean, I've been to Florida multiple times. So many people. I don't know if Florida has any like rugged, outdoorsy, rurally areas where there isn't some sort of hotel or Walt Disney World or old folks, retirement condominium complex going on. I think it would be very difficult. Now, they said the heat and humidity, it's not easy for the virus to survive that. I don't know why, but it was true of the Spanish flu too, that spring and like fall were the times when you got a big old wave of outbreak, and then kind of lull in the summer and in the dead of winter, and then roars back in the spring and then in the fall. So in that case, Florida would be great in the summer when it's stinking hot. Um, but everybody's outside in Florida too. They're going to the beach and they're hanging out and they're doing picnics and they're walking and they're riding their bikes and jogging and playing tennis and everything. I mean, it would be really hard, Renee. It really would. I don't know if you have contacts down there, if you know anybody in your area who's more rural, more rugged, more out of the way than you, but you might want to be looking at those kind of things because it is really crowded in Florida. Okay, let's see. Bamboo works. Yeah. Oh, Colleen, that's a great suggestion. Yeah. Ugh. Wow. Would your daughter wear a gloves and a mask? And she's got to wash her hands. Crematoriums, mortuaries are breeding grounds for disease, and they're going to be overworked. That's the other thing. I think in America, mortuaries and crematoriums are just kind of, nobody thinks about them, nobody talks about them. And then you get those occasional ones in the news where they didn't really do what they said they were going to do with your Uncle Bob or your Uncle Jim or Grandma, and I'd have to Google it, but I'm pretty sure there was one where they were just stacking people, in the grave sites. It wasn't just one person. They had like 4 or 5, and they had bodies in non-approved places. I don't remember the details, but they were not following guidelines and so on. And it's super expensive now to have someone, officially, commercially, their body taken care of, short of a crematorium. You've got to pay the ambulance to transport the body. It usually goes to a hospital.
Clearly, I need some cough syrup.
Yeah, or a cough drop. It's got a
scotch.
cough scotch. It's got to usually goes to a hospital or something. If it stays there 3 days, there's a cost there. Then moving it over to the mortuary place, and then they charge an arm and a leg for, the coffin is $5,000 for them to do the embalming or whatever. It's $10,000. It's, a couple of thousand more to have a plot somewhere in their cemetery. Multiply that times 65,000. Multiply that by 180,000. It's going to get pretty crazy. And it's going to get slightly dangerous. And if you go back and do some research on the flu in 1918, towns would decide, I'm probably going to have to go get a drink too. My throat's getting sore. Not sore, but rough. Towns would decide to do mass graves. They would, pick a spot wherever, probably town-owned plot of land, take a some kind of excavator out there, dig a big thing, and put all the people who died from the flu in there and bury them. The video I watched on that showed a place like that in England where there were still a few crosses up, but because it was such a hasty burial, they weren't even sure how many people were in it or who they were, so they were using that ground imaging radar to figure it out. I mean, that's a real thing. Based on how environmental services, wait a minute. Oh, you have ice cream? I have ice cream too, Music Well. Maybe I'll have some afterwards. Based on a terminal cleans the hospital rooms, the patient rooms themselves are breeding grounds for the virus. These cleaning service groups do a terrible job cleaning. I've noticed that. Hey, Biddy Boo, shalom. Hey, David the Viking. Biddy Boo says pour her a scotch, honey. What's going on?
Said what?
Pour her a scotch.
Is Glenn Morangi okay?
Is Glenn Morangi okay, Biddy Boo? I paid $1,100 for transport and cremation. Your oldest son has the flu today. Oh, Cassie, I'm sorry. So, when Pastor and I had the flu, we just dealt with it as best we could. We used aspirin and Motrin to control the fever and the aches, and we used Dayquil and NyQuil, which is, I'm not recommending that. If you have elderberry syrup and everything like that and all the herbals, definitely use them. We have a tincture, it just wasn't here, so we didn't use it. But we used Dayquil and NyQuil to help us deal with the coughing, because it's really hard to sleep when you're coughing all the time. And we drank lots and lots of fluids, so I just want something strong to make me sleep. Well, Glenmorangie would do it. Okay. Let me go back. Mass graves wouldn't bother me. I mean, at a certain point, you don't have a lot of choice. Okay. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Tire fires will do the trick. Trying to find Biddy Boo's thing. What's going on with Miss Biddy? Strep now, and I have the flu. Oh, Biddy Boo, you have the flu too? All right, so you need to really using everything I can get my hands on. I'm tired of being sick. Yeah, and the flu is just with the fever. It's really painful. Drink lots of fluids. It helps your body flush bad stuff out. Good evening. That's Zarbee's. Okay, children's Zarbee's. That's the name that my daughter-in-law uses, Zarbee's, and I knew it was a Z word and I couldn't remember, and Walmart has that. She used it on my grandkids because we gave them the flu. Drink a bottle of NyQuil, go to bed, hopefully I'm better when I wake up. Well, it was kind of like what we did. Okay. Good night, Sugar Creek. Shalom. Most of the cleaning services in hospitals pay just over minimum wage. Use temp agencies to save money. And brother, when you look at Florence Nightingale, because I've historical perspective, distance, length. When she started enacting the different sanitary conditions that she did, and it started in the Crimean. Before she did that, medicine and doctors and hospitals, there was no sanitary stuff. And most of the time, if you went to a hospital, you had to provide your own food and your own medicine. And they really didn't know how to take care of you. Just carry Clorox wipes everywhere, right? Or just get your Purell and just constantly be doing this. But what Florence Nightingale did was she did things like have nurses who their whole job was to take all the linens from a patient's bed out in the back with those, huge cauldrons and boil them, with some kind of soap and wash them so that the patients, instead of laying in their own dirty clothes and sheets and everything, would have clean linen every day. She did also the nutrition. Like before I said, you had to provide your own food. Well, when she did her changes, one of the changes she did was a whole staff to cook food for each and every patient. So the patients would get warm, nutritious food every day. And so the whole nursing pantheon, there were no nurses at all to Florence Nightingale. They had the uniforms. Their uniforms had to be pressed and starched and everything, and their hair would be kept up so their hair's not falling down towards a patient when they're treating them. Amy Patterson, yep, everything was boiled back then. Everything was sterilized. It was a uniformity, and it was a standard of cleanliness and taking care of a patient that was really, high quality, and that brought everybody into modern medicine and modern nursing. And then for whatever reason, probably the medical insurance and so on, when the HMOs took over, instead of now the hospital being its own contained unit, and the hospital makes the food and the hospital does its own sanitation, and the medical people are overseen, like the doctors, the boss, and then you got all the nurses, and then you have orderlies and handy stripers and all sorts of people who worked in the hospital doing the hospital stuff. To save money, they started contracting it all out. Now, instead of the linens being washed in a hospital, it's given to some company that takes it back to their place, washes them all, and returns them. I think a lot of places still have their own food. They still have somebody down in the kitchen preparing different meals for people. But the cleaning people are not the orderlies anymore. They're, like you said, a contract company, and they don't care. I don't think they give them very good training. And yeah, that's why you get things like,
Do you want something to drink?
oh, I'd love something to drink, Pastor. Can I have a cup of tea?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, so you've got these contractors, and that's why I don't like the way I look with these on, but when I put them like this, I'm mesmerized by watching myself with them on. That's why you get these people who either don't care, haven't been trained, and things like antibiotic resistant bacteria happen, and why, Mars happens, and just outbreaks of things is because the cleaning people aren't doing MRSA. The cleaning people aren't doing the job that used to be the job of orderlies and nurses and a whole staff who knew that hospital and did it right there on site. That was a lot of words to say the same thing. Now everything is chemicals. Hey, Gordy, shalom. Good to hear from you. Long time no see. You got to come visit sometime. Well, not now. Don't do that. A shot of scotch is noisy. So Alex, brother Alex said, the mortuaries are a racket. And
Yeah, they
health
are.
insurance is a crooked business, and it sure is. If you've been alive as long as Pastor and I, we have seen. I remember. There he is, having his scotch. I remember when our family doctor lived around the corner from us. We could literally walk about 3 blocks, and there was his office. And I still remember the day when my mom said, well, he's not our family doctor anymore. It's an HMO thing now. And so his office is going to be a half hour away. And I thought, how stupid is that? I mean, it's just darn convenient. And then in the military, when we went into the military, all medical care given to military personnel and their families was done by military people in a military hospital. On the base, no charge. That was part of what your service member agreed. They have to do a contract when they join the Army or Marines or whatever. And it was in the contract that this would be provided for us, in exchange for him giving his life basically and becoming property of the U.S. Army. And I still remember, I think it was under Bush number 2, maybe Bush number 1, when they said, oh no, now there's going to be a contractor, and we're going to kind of downsize the military medical thing, and you're going to have to call a number, and you're going to have to make an appointment and see someone who may not be a military member. And I thought, how stupid is that? I'm on this base. The hospital is right there. Why don't I just call up the military person there and make my appointment? Why do I have to call somebody who's in Texas to make an appointment at the facility that's right there? It's ridiculous. And it's all for money. It's all about the money. All right. Eucalyptus is great. Oh, so great. It's such an oil. This is a great essential oil combo that can be found anywhere. Really good point, Renee. Eucalyptus is great. It's we were talking about this with Oki Storm Chaser at Shabbat last time. Any menthol peppermint, spearmint, wintergreen, eucalyptus, any menthol oil or plant. You chew on spearmint. It was in Vicks Vapor Rub. It is what relaxes your bronchial tubes. And Okie Storm Chaser, if he's still on here, he said he puts it in his CPAP. I have a friend who said she puts it on her pillow. She'll just put eucalyptus oil on the pillow so when she's sleeping at night, the vapors are helping. It's one of the things I was treating myself with so I wouldn't get a sinus infection. I would put a little eucalyptus oil and some tea tree on a Q-tip and just stick it right inside my nose so it would open it up, but hopefully the tea tree was killing bacteria at the same time. That's why cough drops have menthol. That's why cough drops have that, they have that kind of burny feeling. It's the menthol. They're great for respiratory situations. Use eucalyptus oil on a cotton ball and put it in my pillowcase. Exactly. Okay. Did sharps end up in the laundry? Did someone say blue label? Isn't that some kind of liquor bastard?
That's Johnny Walker. It's pretty expensive.
Johnny Walker Blue.
Yep.
I have
in Asia.
a large bag of cough drops. Need to get a jar of the menthol rub. Yep, that'll work. And you can also just buy the essential oil. It's a small bottle, but it's pretty powerful and it lasts a long time, unless you're just dousing everything. Scalpels and sharp scissors and rods. Advantages of tissue getting the laundry too, which is wrong because in a correct medical facility you have separate things for those. You have a sharps box for sharps to go in, and you have your scalpels and all that stuff should be put on an equipment tray. So something's going on wrong. By issues, I mean, by tissue, I mean human tissue, not Kleenex. Oh, okay. Saw it myself. Lax. It's just a lack of discipline. It's the standard operating procedures for the facility and the people on the job not making sure this stuff gets done. I take a hot bath with 10 drops of eucalyptus and 1 cup. Epsom salt, 1 cup apple cider vinegar for 20 minutes, and I feel better in the morning. I would too. I really do like having a bath. 12-hour cold and flu tablet. Yep. And there's Theraflu, which is that kind of drink thing. I mean, Theraflu was designed specifically for the flu. And here's another thing that the flu we joke about, but it's supposedly true. Men feel the symptoms and feel sicker with the flu than women do. So if you feel like
I'm sick.
If you feel like really, really miserable, you probably are. If you're a dude and you have the flu. So those are the two things with the coronavirus. Keep your eye on. The aerosolization is one, and what the World Health Organization conference decides in their conference. Because they will put out, no doubt, we have all decided we're going to do these things. This is how we're going to treat this thing. These 5 countries are going to work on the vaccine. And look for also your local area possibly enacting quarantine kind of things. Water and sleep. A hot toddy is great. Yep. They don't think about the drones doing the laundry and taking out the hospital trash. Water and sleep and maybe whiskey. I'm no doctor, but that's what I do with the virus. Laugh out loud. Well, Brother Alex, the thing is you're young and you're super fit. So you don't really, because you're young and super fit, it's just not hitting you right now. Wait till you're our age. Things are not quite as easy as they were when we were younger. But yeah, look for the World Health Organization to come out with guidelines, and then also look for if it comes to your area, your town, your county, your emergency manager, You know, your medical system may start enacting quarantines and you know, shutting down the library and schools shut down and churches can't have services and, you know, all that stuff because it's going to help stop the spread of the disease if a township says, all right, we're done. You know, I don't care if you're supposed to be working at a town, you know, an hour away, just get an apartment or get a hotel room or something and stay there and go to work there. Don't come back here and go back and forth, back and forth. With the Spanish flu, that happened too. Big cities who ignored the fact that the flu was around would have parades and stuff and people would get sick and a lot of people would die. So it could come to your area if you're near places where there's actual positive cases. We have mandatory quarantine in the isolation rooms for anybody with flu symptoms from China or California. See, his facility is already enacting it, and it definitely could come to your area depending on where you live. Renee, could come to your area. I mean, they could shut down the whole I-95 corridor there. Don't know. Excuse me. It depends on how bad it gets, but extreme measures are required with something that is so easily passed as this is. Yep. Airlines won't fly to China. That cruise line, remember the cruise, Princess Cruise or whatever? It's got several ships.
They're getting sicker and sicker. They're working in Japan on getting them off now.
But they are going to lose, they said, 65 cents per share. I guess they're a publicly owned company.
Yeah, who would get on a ship right now?
Right? No one's going to get on a ship right now. And they had 12 or 14, I forgot how they said it. Not trails, not pathways, but, you know, cruise locations that they have had to shut down that would go through or by or whatever China, and they've had to shut them down, so they're going to lose money. Gotta go, be blessed, everyone. You too, brother. Thanks for coming by. It's a floating petri dish. Exactly, Spaz Mama. And because it, you know, they're thinking it's aerosol borne, that's why you can go from one guy to 6 cases to 13 cases to 60, right? 120? I forget how many were on it. 120 cases on that boat and 3,700 people. They need to get them back off. 218 confirmed cases. They need to get everybody off that ship and quarantined away from each other instead of all enclosed right there. And they said the staff had to bring them all food and everything. So unless the staff is being super, super careful, the staff could just pass it. In the Spanish flu, the persons who would actually ended up passing it around in Hutchinson, Kansas, was mailmen and pastors. Pastors would come to, you know, sick families' homes, get the flu on them, go to another family, visit them, give it to them, you know, do their service, give it to people at church, and so on. It's people like that can cause it. So that's the same kind of thing as the people who are bringing the food to each of the rooms on the ship. They've got to get them off. Spaz Mama said, I would jump ship. That's what Pastor said too. He said, day one, we would have quarantined my butt. Over the side, we would have gone. You know what really sucks? Taking all these precautions and then I have to type in my PIN code on the ATMs or at the stores. Right? Wear gloves. Wear gloves. Get those little blue nitrile gloves and just wear them all the time. When you're done doing the transaction, you start the glove peeling from at the top so you can turn it inside out without it touching your skin, and then peel the other one into the one, and then just chuck them in the trash. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Money, doorknobs. Most germy places, money and doorknobs. So that was that. Anybody have anything else I want to say about it? I know my family view times as these in stride. There's always been fevers and flus here that wiped out large numbers where we almost lost my whole grandfather's generation. Where are you at, Lady of the Lake? Gloves and 70% isopropyl alcohol. Computer keyboards at work, at the library, etc. Yeah, I can see that being a problem. All right. Texas, but that was Louisiana. Okay. Good thing about Texas is it's so dang big. You can probably get isolated in Texas. Go out in the middle of nowhere and just camp for a month. All right, so let me switch gears. If you have any other thing you want to say about the coronavirus, I think we've kind of covered it. Okay, so, and I don't know. Let me just talk about the Etsy store for a minute. In my building at work, her husband is Navy Reserves and in Thailand. Pretty sure we're going to experience it. Gordy, that sounds kind of ick. Do your best, man. Do your best. Just avoid people if you can. If it's aerosol spread, though, the chances of you getting it are high if that person comes back with it. Okay, so let me talk about my Etsy store just for a minute. It's kind of wonky. I noticed, like, when I've got my little thing with notices of if someone's, looked at the page or whatever, it's like YouTube. They're never quite accurate. And it took me a while to navigate around it. But yes, what's on the Etsy store is the little magnet copies of original paintings that I do. And I said it in my video, I mainly was picturing homeschooling moms in the movement who are Torah observant, who cannot always get toys and visual aids for their children that would be Torah observant. So that's why I did it. I have a set of 4. 3 of them are from the story of Jericho, and one of them is just a goat and a shepherd, and then a set of 3 that, and you can also get them individually, but a set of 3 that are wildflowers from the mountain that I painted. I do intend to do more. I have at least a few sketches of other vignettes, scenes that I want to do, and possibly the Hebrew alphabet. And then other things too, just back here in the works, like that syrup, and there's a ton of grapevines out here, so I'm thinking maybe grapevines and so on, but I want to thank anyone who ordered the magnets. I got 5 of them, 5 packages of them out today. And then, I wanted to say something about Instagram, and now I can't remember what it was. Oh no, not Instagram. The tiles and the coffee cup. I put that on Instagram, and I got some pretty favorable thumbs up with those. So one of my future ideas right now is doing custom tiles for people to match their coffee cups. So that's one of those plans. And I just recently went to Lowe's and found the tiles and it might work. I got it either from here. Okay. See what's going here. Renee Stunt, right. Homeschooling mama to 6 here, yeah. And so, yeah, the coffee cup and the tile thing's coming up. I want to do Pastor Joe's favorite coffee cup. See if I can make a tile to match it, and if I can do that successfully, because his is different. Mine was a Polish pottery design, and then I just kind of copied the design, so it was more geometric stuff and really not that difficult. But the cup, yeah, here it is. The cup that he would like me to copy onto a tile for him. Whoa! No, there we go. Is the whole, what's it called? Holger Dansk, the statue from Denmark. So I'm going to try to copy this for him, and then if I do a decent job, I may, advertise that on the Instagram or something. So yeah, it's just that kind of year. Someone said to me today, like the Shemitah's over and we just hit the ground running. And it's true. Here you go, Pastor. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So let's see what's going on here. I love the Hebrew alphabet and things for spring feast. This will be our first spring Torah observant. Heck yeah. PJ needs that. Yeah. Some of the things Sister Kitty and I were talking about was she had designed a coloring book that was about the feasts when she was much younger. And I said, well, do you still have that? Like, is it on a computer? And she said, no, I was, hand doing it. I said, do you still have it? And she said, yeah. I said, well, then we need to talk about, if we can make copies of that, make a finished product of it, and then put it in on the Etsy page so kids could have a coloring book of the spring feasts. The thing about the Hebrew alphabet is I did two letters, and I sent it to my daughter, who's my consultant, and she was like, no, you need to do it this way. Or my suggestion to you is do it this way. This is the way I would do it. And I'm a little daunted by the fact that it's going to be 22 of them. But I do think it would be fun. I think it'd be fun because, those little alphabet letters that are magnets that A, B, C, D, and you can put them on your fridge. I think they're kind of fun and kind of cute. And I would like to have something similar. I can't make it in the plastic, but I can paint it and then have the magnets made. I could do that with the Hebrew alphabet, and so it's in the works. It's one of those things. I've got stewing back here, and I've started getting more of the little canvases, so when I get inspired, I can start to work on it. Okay, I love that. Let's get that duplicated. I know, right? I'll talk to her. I will tell her. I think it's a really good idea. Okay, so we did that. We talked about the Etsy store. Talked about the coronavirus. There was a couple of other things I wanted to talk about. And it's not the weather. We talked about our gardens. Anybody have any questions? Comments? I'm still working my way through your viewer suggested ideas for videos. I think I've got 2 or 3 more. I'd love to support y'all and teach my kids at the same time. Perfect. Well, thank you, Miss Renee. The store name is Israelite Market at Etsy, and it's one word. You don't leave a space in there. And if you want to go take a peek at it, it should be very obvious to you. As a matter of fact, see if I can grab one of the magnets real quick. If you haven't seen them yet, I think I've got one up here on the fridge. I'm coming. Oh, I know one of the things I wanted to talk about. Okay, so this is, there. It's going to be hard for you to see it. This is Rahab and her mother climbing out of the ruins of Jericho with their apartment tower in the background. It's really hard to see it, but there's like a purple ribbon hanging out of that. That's just one of the series. There's 3. But you'll see them. If you go to the page, you'll see them. And yeah, it's just one word, Israelite Market. I wish. Bear Backfire needs help. Still listening. Okay. We had sunshine here today. Finally, I was scared I was in the twilight zone. It wasn't gray and gloomy outside. Right? Yeah, that we were just so tired, and you're sick too. I mean, Biddy, I would be just in bed with all my warmy clothes on and a cup of hot chocolate, The sun came out here and we were super excited because now our solar will charge up and we can, get our computer batteries back up and charge our phones and everything else. Where's the best place to get an elderberry bush if you don't have any on your land? Amy, I don't know because I've had it on my land. Up in Kansas, they were just along the side of the road. I just noticed them out there flowering, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's elderberry. So I would just stop and pick them. I would think some sort of online nursery and just order them. or if you know anyone in your area who has one, you can do cuttings right now and, start them doing a plant. OPSEC mission this weekend. Can we say
No.
nope? OPSEC on that, Renee. That question right there. Shalom McMikey. Spaz Mama says she got her elderberry on eBay or Amazon. Make sure you get the Sambucus. That's Sambucus nigra, the black elderberry. I can't even draw a crooked line correctly. Well, this didn't start out looking like this, Troy. This is a process. I had first a sketch on a piece of paper, on a little piece of paper with the idea. And then with paint, you have to do like layers of paint. So the first layer you lay down on this is your background. So you have to decide beforehand, all right, what kind of background, what kind of sky do I want, what kind of rocks and everything like that. And then it's a process of putting down the dark paints first and then lighter and lighter. And it kind of gives it the three-dimensionality. It's not just a thing. Like I said, my daughter gave me some. She was my consultant. She's really a very good painter. Animals still needed tended, but as soon as I was done, I climbed back in bed. To heck with the housework. It will be here when I feel better. Exactly. We just tucked in for the 3 days with the fever and passion. I barely moved. I'd get up and heat up some soup, and we'd eat that, and we'd just go right back to bed, take all the medicine, and cough. Oh my gosh, we coughed so much. I rooted my elderberry cuttings in a small container and then planted it in the garden. There you go. Hang on. Can elderberries be grown in a container? Spaz Mama says so. I think eventually you'd probably want to move them outside, Steve. I would think a self-wicking one, Biddy Boo says. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was how many people saw Reap What You Sow's video where she got a mini Jersey cow. I think that's a pretty interesting idea because she's older like I am and she has some kind of autoimmune disease, so her joints ache. So she's not going to want to, and neither do I, want to handle a big cow or spend all that time milking, because a cow can have 4 to 8 gallons of milk in her. I thought her getting the mini Jersey was a great idea because it's a smaller cow. When you see it next to her, it's shorter than she is, and it looks like it's tame. So, she was leading it up to the milk stand. And then it was some milking. I mean, it took her a while, but like she said, the better she gets, the more used to she gets milking this cow, the better and faster she's going to get. And now she's got fresh cow milk, which means you have all kinds of options there. You can make yogurt, you can make cream, you can make butter, you can make cheeses, and it's a decent amount. I've been wanting a milk cow. I found me a mid-sized Jersey for $600 now. If the good Lord will bless me with $600, I will have one. I just want to make sure I'm not getting some kind of hybrid. I know, right? Take a cutting right off the bush, says Teresa. Put it in water, and it will root. And people did that. People did that with mine. I had 2 elderberry bushes here, and people took cuttings, but the one girl said she thinks she left it in the water too long, and so when she rooted it, the plant went into shock because it went from the water to the soil. I think as soon as it starts rooting, you want to transplant it. You don't want to leave it in the water for like 3 weeks. Excuse me. And then I found, by walking around on my property, there's another elderberry closer to the house. So one of my plans for this year is to make cuttings too, myself, and transplant them. Totally forgot that until you guys brought that up. But see, for me, the milking thing, the goats work fine. These little pygmy goats, they don't have big udders. They're easy to move. They can't knock me down. The one gave just enough so that if we wanted to drink the milk, we had the milk. And if I saved it up, last year I made some feta cheese, and it's still in the fridge in the brine, and it tastes really good. So I'm not looking to want to milk more, but for a community situation, if things get bad and you're throwing in with other people, having a cow and a mini one would be really cool. Would give you options. I just think there's something to be looked at there. It wouldn't give so much milk that you have a problem trying to keep it from going bad. How much milk my big goat will produce? Alex, that's a really good question. Bitty Boo, how much milk do those Sonnets produce? Westhold Forge?
4 gallons a day.
Is that what she said, or
No,
are you
it's-
making it up?
Totally making it.
Making it up. Bitty Boo, though, she had those
Right,
goats.
she should know.
Depends on how often she is milked, Alex. You're supposed to milk twice a day, 12 hours apart. Westhold Forge, I think you could probably do a goat. I reckon I best get to drinking. I milk mine twice a day and get almost 2 gallons a day. That's a lot of milk, Miss Bitty Boo, in a good way. I'm not saying it's bad. It's always good to have that milk, because same thing. You can make yogurt, you can make cheese.
And I can eat salad.
You can make cottage cheese and mozzarella cheese and everything with the goat milk and feta. So I think that's great. Or you could sell it. When I was selling my milk, I was selling it $2 a quart, which is $8 a gallon. No way we can drink that much. I'll give everyone some. Ha! Alex, make cheese. It's really not that hard. Gordy likes cheese. And you've got cats running around too, don't you, Alex? You can give the cat some milk. Yep, that's why she didn't wean my babies till they were 6 months old. Give me a second, you guys. I'm going to go get another something to drink. My throat's getting a little.
Want some scotch? Want some hen?
No, I don't want any hen. If I drink the Hennessy, I won't wake up till tomorrow afternoon. I'll be right back, you guys. I'd like some of my lemonade. Where's my cup? There it is. All right. Here we go. Brother Alex, did you hear what I said about selling that milk? I'll put Amy on it. I mean, I got $2 a quart for it. We buy raw milk and freeze it. It defrosts fine. It's just as good. Good point, McMikey. You absolutely could do that. You could can it. I would get my gallon and let the babies take the rest. That's when I was getting more than the gallon. The pigs and the chickens got the rest. Exactly. You have enough different animals there. You got that big white dog. That big white dog would drink a gallon of milk if you set it out there for it. And that's one technique to milking, Brother Alex. You do not necessarily have to milk the goat twice a day if you don't want to. I'm getting pretty lazy. I was milking my goat only once a day, and she would produce as much as I milked from her in that time. You also can let the babies drink until they're weaned, which is about 8 weeks, and then start milking. Separate them apart so the weaned babies are, somewhere else, and then start milking your nanny. But it's kind of up to you. Like you're not enslaved. You make the decision about how much milk and when you're gonna do.
It's cold, don't you think?
Yeah.
Some more wood, Mom.
Watched a YouTube video that your daughter-in-law did probably a year before I found Viking Preparedness. Where she's milking a goat, Westhold Forge. sell it at that rate, $8 a day ain't bad, right? Even though they say you cannot can it, you can. Of course you can can it, Biddy Boo, because you can buy it canned in the store. Oh, on how to make the cheese. Yes, Westhold Ford. She did a really good job on that video too, on how to make cheese. Yeah. Feta cheese is super simple. It's just the regular yogurt and some rennet. And you can buy rennet at a co-op. So time for some jeopardy. I'll get 3 more and milk them dry every day. Well, there you go, Alex. Start your own little dairy out there, brother. We knew a family who was not quite Torah observant, but the relatives were. And the man had 2 cows and like a few goats. And what he did is he sold like milk options on the cows. And had people, I think he did it through Craigslist, had people sign up.
That's like community supported agriculture.
Yeah, community supported agriculture, only it was with these milk cows and goats. And so he would have people sign up for a gallon and pay. And then when he milked, he would just let them know that it was available. And I think he set it out in a cooler or a fridge or something that they could access whether he was there or not. I mean, they would come to his farm, pick up their gallon, and then go home. You could do something like that, brother Alex. The boiled down Viking cheese is good stuff. It's very good. Shalom, Sister Kate and Pastor Fox. Shield Maiden.
You tell people about our breakfast with our homemade maple
I
syrup?
did tell people about our breakfast with our homemade maple syrup. That maple syrup, I showed them the jar, remember? This syrup tastes kind of caramely, but it was really good on the French toast and the pancakes, and I can see somebody having that on ice cream. I mean, maple is one of those flavorings that people are starting to, yes, I'm going to have that on my fried chicken, you know, absolutely. And it's worth it. If you have, to tap a tree, they don't have to be maple trees. You can tap oaks and elms and birches and apple trees and so on. And you do not have to, you know, you can boil it down just for yourself. You don't have to sell it or be commercial if you don't want to. Is there another name for Viking cheese? You guys will have to know. Video request, how to can milk. Well, there you go, Biddy Boo. Do a video on how you can your milk. Oaks, didn't know that. Yes, Lady of the Lake, you can tap an oak. You can tap most tree varieties. The difference between them and the maples would be the amount of sap and the sweetness of the sap. The maples are going to give probably more and it'll be sweeter, but you can tap a lot of different kind of trees. Whiskey is Viking tea. Yes. Isn't the whiskey, the word is like life water in Gaelic or something? I thought it was life water. I can do that? Did you say you can do that? Say you can do that. You can do that. There you go. Good night, Westhold. Thanks for coming by. This scotch is kicking in. Time for bed. Okay. All right. The writing's on the wall. Bless you all. Shalom. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. Keep your eye on the coronavirus.
Or the Dos Equis virus.
Your Meemaw taught you how to can milk. My mama. Yeah. Biddy Boo, there you go. We talked about you doing cooking videos. Do a video on how to can milk. And I may be in contact with you later, depending on how the cup coaster things goes. All right. Go to bed, everybody. Go to sleep. I got to go to sleep, too. Bless you all. Shalom. Keep your eye on the virus. Get your preps ready. If it's aerosol pass, then it gets much more serious. Withdraw sooner. All right. Shalom. Love and blessings to you, too. Spaz Mom, I'm glad you got to catch the live stream. And Lady of the Lake, you too. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Bless you. All right. Good night.